There is a brand new Figment time trial in Disney Speedstorm, destination your imagination, and in today's video I'm going to tell you all the tips and tricks you need to know to get top 10%. As you can see, I'm currently pretty high up on the leaderboard in a position of 69th place, and you're going to want to get top 10% in this event. If we take a look at the rewards here, in the top 100% you're getting 3 Figment shards and a couple first visit buttons, and the top 75% those 3 shards jump up to 5, you get some more cosmetics, and then finally in the top 50% you're getting 10 Figment shards, which is enough to unlock the purple dragon himself, as well as a bunch of other goodies. In the top 25% you get an additional 5 shards, some more upgrade parts and cosmetics, and then finally in the top 10% you're getting a whopping 25 shards, a bunch of first visit buttons, epic upgrade parts for Figments, racer skins, and a bunch of other stuff. So you really want to get into the top 10% if you want to upgrade your Figment and make him the best he can possibly be. And my personal best time is currently 2 minutes and 1 second, which is just a little bit over and is well enough to keep me in the top 10% by a large margin. Now, if you aren't able to get a super high percent in this track, no worries, because there is the Dragon's Journey limited event right there, which will get you some extra shards you need to fully unlock Figment. So even if you only get in the top 75% or 100%, it's not a huge deal, but obviously you want to try and do better if possible. But now let's take a look at my personal best rates, and I'll go over all the good tips and tricks you need to know in order to maximize your chances of getting in the top 10%. Alright, here we are taking a look at my personal best run. Now this is going to have a lot of slow motion moments in it while I talk through things. If you want to see a thing without slow motion, just skip ahead in the video and I'll play the run again while I talk over it. But here, starting off the race, I'm going to dodge and weave in between the AIs and then immediately start drifting. You want to get one full drift boost off right before you hop on the grind rail here, and make sure you're hopping on the grind rail. This is by far the biggest skip and you should definitely be doing it every single time. Then when you get onto this platform, you can get another full entire drift off before you land on this boost pad again. It can be a little tricky to pull off and it kind of mess up your jump there if you don't do it correctly, but it is very possible. Then you want to jump on some of the floating objects. It's a pretty difficult concept to explain, so let me talk through it. Pretty much you never want to jump for items. These items right here, I'm not going to jump for them, and you never ever want to. Just go underneath all the items. You should get literally 0 power-ups throughout the entire duration of this run. It's by far the most efficient way to do this. As you can see there, I'm not going to jump, and I'm going to drift in between the grass, get a full drift boost off, and then prepare myself to jump on the next floating objects. So why am I jumping on some of the floating boost pads but not others? Well, the answer is it depends what state your boost bar is in. If your boost bar is full and active, meaning you're actively getting boost from your boost bar, then yes, you want to jump on the blue boost pads mid-air. If your boost bar is not active and you're not getting boost, do not jump on the boost pads because it will just slow you down. And when in doubt, just stay on the ground. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to properly time it, just stay on the ground the entire race. Don't jump at all, and I guarantee your time will improve than if you were jumping at a bunch of stuff before. As you can see, because my boost bar was active, I jump on the last one. However, I skipped the first 2 because my boost bar wasn't full yet. Because if you jump on these floating pads while your boost bar isn't full, you're not going to get any benefits whatsoever, and it's actually going to slow you down a little bit playing as a level 15 Figment. And then here we are going into the second lap. I'm going to land on the grind rail and then get my full drift off once again right before I land on the boost pad, which lets my boost bar keep going a little bit. Now my boost bar is out, so I'm not going to jump on these floating objects. As you can see right here, I'm just going to skip under them while I charge my boost bar back up. It's the most efficient way to do this. Now my boost bar is full, so if there was another floating object, I would jump, but there isn't, so I'm just going to keep drifting with my wheels on the ground. Remember to keep drifting, charge your boost bar up. Then right here, I get my boost bar full, and I jump onto the boost pad. I forget to do an aerial stunt here, but that's okay. You always want to press square mid-air in order to do those little tricks. It gives you a little speed boost once you land on the floor. Then I drift through the grass. I jump on both of these boost pads mid-air because my boost bar is full. Hop on the left side of the grind rail, and then immediately drift into this curve, hop onto the grind rail in the middle. It's the most efficient path. Ride the grind rail a little bit, and then once I'm back on the floor, I keep drifting once again. I actually mess up my drift a little bit there, which sucks. and I don't jump on the last boost pad even though I probably could have gotten it off. Remember, when in doubt, just stay on the ground. It's the best thing to do, and it'll improve your time a lot, I promise. I managed to charge my boost bar up right before jumping on the last boost pad, so I do that, and then I just drift my way into the finish line here with a pretty solid time of 2 minutes and 1 second. Now I'm going to show my personal best run again without any slowdown moments and just talk through some more general tips. So let's fully break this run down and talk about all the general tips that you should keep in mind while playing this event. First things first, you're playing as Figment. This is important to keep in mind, for Figment is a trickster character. Now tricksters get their boost from actually drifting, so you're going to want to drift as much as possible. Anytime you're on the ground not jumping, make sure you're drifting, trying to get off as many drift boosts as possible. This is going to ensure that your boost bar stays full for as long as possible, which is always the goal in these time trial limited events, to keep your boost bar full. And this is especially prevalent as you're playing as a level 15 Figment, which means all your stats are lower, including your boost stat, which means your boost is going to run out faster. So if you can drift more and utilize the floating objects perfectly to keep your boost bar full, that's going to benefit you and your time a lot more. Another thing to note, normally I would talk about Figment's item pool, how to properly use his ability, his dash ability, and all the other power-ups in his roster. However, you should not get a single power-up when playing through this run. Normally I tell you to use Figment's charged ability instead of his normal activation because it's way better and super useful. However, if you're getting Figment's ability at all throughout this race, you're doing something wrong. You should never be jumping for power-ups because jumping in this game just slows you down. Especially if your boost bar is full, you're going to be mid-air without drifting, which means you're just losing boost to grab an item that could potentially not help you. Yes, if you were able to get the rush power-up or Figment's unique ability every single time, then it might be good or might be worth it, but even still, it's much more beneficial to just keep your drift chains going on the ground and not to risk it for an item that could just be potentially useless, like the fire ability or something like that. Another thing is to know how to drift chain. I drive this point home in every single one of these top 10% videos, but this is especially true for the Figment event because he's a trickster and because drifting is so important as a trickster, and Figment especially. And you might think that it might not be that useful in this event because you are jumping more and there are floating objects, but really utilizing the floating objects is kind of a trap because in most scenarios they aren't helpful. One of my best runs was just going through the entire track and not jumping a single time. Obviously, in certain scenarios it is faster, like I talked about. You want to jump on the floating objects if your boost is active because that way it can refill it. However, if you don't jump at all, you'll still get a good time if you can just master drifting on the ground. You could totally completely ignore the floating objects and any of the item pickups and you'll still get a good time, and that's honestly what I recommend for those of you who might struggle a little bit more. Just try a run where you only drift and you don't jump a single time. Trust me, I think your time will improve if you've been jumping a lot in your past runs. But that is all of the tips that I have for you guys for this Figment event. I really hope they help, and I hope that you can improve your time and get into the top 10%. If you have any further questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below, or for further additional help, you can join my Discord server. Link will be in the description, and there people can take a look at your run and help you out even more. But thank you guys so much for watching. That's all I have for you all today. Peace out.